Hello guys and welcome back to our computer networks course. So today we will be discussing flow control, right? Flow control is basically what we have been talking about all this time using our tap and bucket example, right? So that is what it is, right? You don't want to send too much so your receiver cannot receive, but you also do not want to send so little that you are filling your bucket drop by drop, right? You don't want to do that either. So that is basically what your flow control does. So let's talk about it in a little bit more detail. ठीक है so basically your flow control does three things है ना so मतलब it basically does one thing and that is your optimizing the flow, right? So what I mean by that is again let's take our tap and bucket example, right? You have a tap, ठीक है, you had a pipe and you had a bucket, right? So the thing is, you do not want to send so much that it overflows, right? You do not want to waste. मतलब you do not want it to be sending so much that I have to resend everything again, right? You don't want it to be this way, ठीक है? But you also don't want it to be drop by drop, right? You don't want to send so little in one go that it takes an eternity to completely fill the bucket, right? So what you want to do is you want to optimize the flow, right? You want to send as much as possible in as little time as possible, right? So that is what I mean by optimal flow rate. Let's see. So this is basically done using your Windows, right? So we talked about Windows a little bit before, right? Let's talk about it a little more now. So basically you had a buffer, right? And in your buffer you had a window, right? So I said window is what is to be taken into consideration, right? So for right now my eyes do not see this, my eyes do not see this, right? What they see is only this. Okay, this is your window. So you manage your window in such a way that your flow happens perfectly, right? So you want to send data, okay? You want to send data, but you don't want to send too much, okay? You don't want to send too much, but you don't want to send too little either, right? Because if you're sending way too little, it will be wasteful, right? So we will be discussing those things. But for now, let's move on to our segmentation. So you also will be segmenting data, right? So we said that TCP is what stream oriented, right? And we said that it segments stuff in a manner to optimize its flow, right? So what would happen is, let's say I am sending some message, है so what it's going to do is it will not care about that the fact that these are two different messages. What it is going to care about that these are both going to the same sender, so they don't need to be in two different packets, right? So it might just wrap it up in a single package and send it, right? Or it might say that okay, this is what my first package can handle, right? So let's send this much in my first package, and then my second package can handle this much, right? So let me send this much in my second package, and then this is what's left, so this is what is going to be in your third package, right? So that is what your segmentation does. Okay, so let's discuss some more things in our flow control, right? So we talked about the fact that too much of flow is a problem and that would lead to congestion, right? So that is a separate topic in itself, so we will be discussing that in a bit. But for now, let's talk about what would happen if I am sending a very 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 small amount of data, right? So let's see I have my sender and I have my receiver, है ना? So let's see. So let's say I am sending 1 byte of data. Okay, I am sending 1 byte of data. To send this 1 byte, I require 40 bytes of header. That means I am sending 41 bytes just to relay 1 byte of information. This is very very wasteful, right? You would only have a overhead of 40 bytes even if you had a much bigger data, right? So this is what is called your silly window problem. Okay, so this is basically when one of your windows becomes so small that you are sending a lot of wasteful information, right? Matlab this does not need to happen in this way, right? You do not need to send 40 bytes of header for 1 byte of information if I am to send 1 byte every second, right? So matlab what I'm trying to say here is let's do this. So I have an application, ठीक है, and then there's my transport layer, ठीक है, same here. Let's give this a heading. ठीक है. So my application is producing data that it wants to send. Let's say this guy produces data at 1 byte per second. ठीक है. Now what would happen is I would send this data. ठीक है. And to send this 1 byte of data, I'm going to send 41 bytes. ठीक है. I'm going to send 41 bytes. Now this guy can accept way more than this, है ना? This guy can accept, let's say he can accept a lot more than this, right? And I can also send a lot more than this. ठीक है. So my window and his window both are bigger, but my application produces data at such a slow rate that I'm sending it anyways, right? So this is the problem, right? Because so much waste, right? So much waste. What I could have done is just waited for a little bit, है ना? I could have just waited for a little bit. So this problem doesn't only arise because of your slow sender. It can also arise due to your slow acceptor, है ना? So matlab what is happening here is this guy is producing information at 1 byte per second. That is why this guy is forced to accept it at 1 byte per second or lower. ठीक है? He cannot accept that more, right? Because this is the information that is available to us, right? Of course. So that was the case of slow sender. ठीक है? That was the case of slow sender. So my sender produces data at such a slow pace that it creates an extreme amount of overhead, right? So let's see what would happen if instead of a slow sender, I had a slow receiver. Okay. So for now, we said that my guy was producing information at 1 byte per second. Okay. And this guy could accept faster, but he was forced to accept at a slower rate, right? Now what if my sending application produces data at a decent pace, but my accepting guy can only accept it at 1 byte per second? So what is going to happen? So what's going to happen is this guy is going to send 100 bytes every second, right? So what is going to happen is eventually my buffer is going to get filled. ठीक है? Eventually my buffer is going to get filled at my receiving end, है ना? So at my receiving end, my buffer gets filled. Every 1 second, I get 1 byte of free space. Okay, every 1 second, I get 1 byte of free space. Now, what is going to happen is when I get this free space, I'm going to tell this guy, I have free space. I have free space. And now this guy is going to send 1 byte. And to send that 1 byte, he has to send me 40 bytes of header. Okay. Again, my application only consumes that 1 byte per second. So another second later, another byte empties, right? This guy got filled when this guy sent 1 byte to me. Now this guy got empty again, right? After 1 second, this much information was consumed by my application. So once again, I will advertise and I will say I have free space. Then this guy would again send me 40 byte. Are you seeing? This is again the same pattern, right? Again the same pattern. I am again forced to receive data at a very, very slow pace, right? I am forced to receive data at an extremely slow pace. And that is making it send so much overhead for absolutely no reason, right? So those were our silly window problems based on your receiver and your sender. Now let's see what we can do to prevent such a situation, right? Let's see what we can do to prevent such a situation. All right, guys, so let's talk about our very first solution, right? So this one is for our slow sender, right? So whenever your sender is slow and that is what is causing our silly window problem, we will be applying Nails algorithm, right? So the way to do it is the first thing that you receive from your application, right? The first thing, right? So this is your buffer, okay? And there's your window, all right? So the first thing that you receive, the first part that you receive, you just send it anyways, okay? You just send it. And after that, you wait, okay? You would wait. So step one was send first part, ठीक है, and then a second part is wait. But till when is the main question, right? You know you have to wait now, right? Because this was right, this was what, let's say it was just a small packet, right? It was 1 byte and we had to send 41 bytes for relaying 1 byte of information, right? A lot of clutter in a channel, but we send it anyway. But that was only for our first part, right? We won't do it again, okay? So now we are waiting, but what are we waiting for, okay? And how long are we waiting for? So we are waiting for enough information to collect here, right? And only then will we send it again, right? So how long do we wait? So there are two things that are need to be taken into consideration for this, right? The first one is that my receiver has acknowledged it, right? So if my acknowledgement has been received, I send again, no matter how much of my buffer is filled, no matter how much of my window is filled, right? Okay. So as soon as I receive an acknowledgement, I will send. Okay. The other thing is when I have enough information to have a max sized segment, right? So that means that let's say I could have used 41 bytes to send 1 byte of information, or I could have used 40 bytes of header. This was like 40 bytes of header plus 1 byte of information to send 1 byte of information, or I could have done 40 bytes of header for 140 bytes of information, right? And that would be 180 bytes. Okay. So I could have done this, or I could have done this, right? So I could have done anything in between as well. So what I'm trying to say is I will wait for the maximum amount of information to fill in here, right? Whichever one happens first is what we are going to do. Okay. So this is probably not visible. Okay, so what we're saying is you wait for either the acknowledgement to come or for the segment to be big enough. Okay, so basically the first part of things you would send, okay, and then you start waiting. So as soon as I get my acknowledgement, I would send whatever I have collected, okay, no matter how big it is, no matter how small it is. Now if I do not receive my acknowledgement, but my segment, my biggest segment that could be sent has been collected, right? No point in waiting anymore, right? I could not send any more than this anyways, so let's just send it. Okay, so that is your third step, right? That is your third step. Send after acknowledgement or after max segment can be created. Okay, so you have to wait to either get an acknowledgement or you need to wait for your segment to be big enough. Okay, so we know why max segment is a condition, right? Why is your acknowledgement a condition? And the reason for that is we don't want to let this guy sit idle for too long, right? That would be way too unresponsive, है ना? Way too unresponsive. Okay, if we have information, we could send it, this guy could receive it, but we are just waiting for an eternity for our max segment to be formed, right? That is a too long of a wait. It is not required, right? Let's allow some clutter so that our application could be much more responsive, right? So I hope that was clear. That was our first solution. Let's discuss another solution. So our last solution was for our slow sender, but now this one is for our slow receiver, right? So now what would be my solution if my receiver received at a very slow pace, right? So the thing is, now I can send very fast, है ना? But I cannot receive fast. So what is going to happen is this guy, let's say, was sending again at 100 bytes per second. Okay, this guy could only receive at 1 byte per second. So what my Clark's algorithm says is you wait, है ना? मतलब you wait after you receive. So once you have received, you wait, because my application cannot consume information, right? No point in storing a lot more data when I can't even consume it, right? I could just wait till the time I have space, right? Na? मतलब till the time I have space, no point in collecting more information, right? So what I do is I take information, right? I take the first bit and I am fine with it, and I say I don't have space anymore. ठीक है, no space. मतलब I receive information and I reply with I don't have space, stop sending for now. ठीक है. Now I wait. I don't send anything more. I wait. है ना? So till when do I wait? Till when do I wait? Till the time either half of my buffer is empty. ठीक है? Either I wait till half of my buffer is empty or till I can accept a max size segment. ठीक है? So if I can accept the maximum segment, the biggest segment that my sender could send, right? If I can accept that, I will accept it, or I will wait for half of my buffer to empty. So why am I doing this? So let's see. This guy is going to consume information at 1 byte per second, right? So it is going to consume from this end, and my new information enter in this end, right? So what's going to happen is I consume 1 byte and then I'm storing 1 byte, but this 1 byte doesn't get used now anyways, right? So what I can do is I can tell this guy just stop standing for now. I'll tell you when I have space, है ना? And when I can accept the biggest chunk of data, that is when I would say, okay, now you can send me information, right? So matlab, if like in our last example we said that 41 bytes were 1 byte of information and 40 bytes of header, ठीक है? And we said 180 was 40 bytes of header and 140 bytes of information, है ना? So we assume that this was the max size. So I am saying when I can receive this guy is when I will accept it, right? Because this is the maximum that I could receive anyways, है ना? This is the maximum that is allowed. So if I can receive this, I will receive this. That is your, whenever I can accept the biggest chunk is when I will accept it. And the other part is again your half buffer is empty, right? So I can maybe I cannot accept the biggest thing, but half of my buffer is empty, so I can accept a lot of information. So this guy does not feel that I'm just idling around and not being responsive to him, right? So I will say that okay, you send me some more things. Okay. So again, first part is because this is anyways the maximum that you can receive, right? This is anyways the maximum you can receive no matter when you receive it, right? So the faster you do it, the better it is. Okay. And this guy is for responsiveness. Again, the same things. Okay. So that is how this is happening, right? You are waiting till the time you can accept information, right? So till the time either half of your buffer is empty or you can accept the maximum segment. Okay. Till the time you could accept the biggest segment that is possible, right? That is till when you would be waiting in your Clark's algorithm, right? So our last Snail's algorithm was for slow sender, and this one, Clark's algorithm, is for slow receiver. Okay, this one is for slow receiver. Alright, apart from our Clark's algorithm, we also have a concept of delayed acknowledgement for our slow receiver, right? So again, for a slow receiver, we also have the concept of delayed acknowledgement, right? And that simply says that you do not acknowledge as soon as you receive stuff, right? So matlab, there is no need to acknowledge this guy as soon as I receive something, right? This is not to be done is what it says, right? What is to be done is you receive stuff and you wait. Okay, you would wait till the time you have enough space in your buffer to receive more things, right? No point, this guy is going to wait for the acknowledgement before sending more information, right? It will send you some stuff and then it is going to wait, right? Because remember when we discussed our windows, we said that whatever is in the window, whatever is not acknowledged would stay in the window, right? So it cannot move forward, right? It cannot send more before this stuff gets acknowledged, right? So it is going to wait for some time, it is going to wait for some time, and we do not need to acknowledge right away, right? Because if I acknowledge right away, this is going to expire and I'm going to send, this guy is going to send me more information right that moment, right? So what we can do instead is not send acknowledgement instantly, wait for some time and send it so that it receives, this guy receives our acknowledgement when we have enough space to receive more data, right? So this comes with the advantage that I do not have to give an acknowledgement for this and whatever else he has in between, right? I can give a cumulative acknowledgement that says I have received all of this. Okay. So that is something that can be done, but there also is a disadvantage, and this disadvantage is that if my timer expires, this guy is going to send everything again. ठीक है, this guy is going to send everything again, right? A lot of clutter, we don't want this. ठीक है, so we have a maximum wait time, है ना? So a maximum wait time has been defined, which says this is the maximum amount of time you can wait before sending the acknowledgement after receiving the package, right? And that is 500 milliseconds, right? Your 500 milliseconds is the maximum amount of time that you can wait before sending your acknowledgement. So this means that my acknowledgement should ideally be reaching before this timer expires and this guy resends everything, right? We do not want this situation to occur. But we want is that I don't want to send one acknowledgement for each of these, right? I don't want to send an acknowledgement for all of them, right? So that was my advantage and disadvantage. The main purpose was that I simply want to have space before I say send me more data, right? Matlab, what is the point of saying, okay, I have received this when I can't even receive anymore, right? What is the point of doing that? So matlab, what I would be doing in my class algorithm is I would be saying I have received, don't send me more. Okay, don't send me more data for now. Okay, the way to do this is you set your window to 0. So you set receiving window to 0, and that means I cannot receive anymore. That is how you say don't send me anymore, and you give it an acknowledgement for what you have received, right? So you don't want to do that, right? What's the point of acknowledging when I can't even receive more data, right? So what I'm saying is just wait a little bit more. Just wait a little bit more so that you do not have to set your receiver window to 0, right? Wait enough time that you have some space so that you can receive some data, and then you send it an acknowledgement, right? Then you send it an acknowledgement that, okay, now I have space. I have also received your data and I can also receive more now, right? So that is what your delayed acknowledgement basically is, right? So let's move on.